right, let's, today is 9/15/15. This is the Village of North Hudson Public Works. First item on the agenda is call to order. Roll call.
Trustee Stanton?
Here.
Chairman Head?
Here.
Trustee Pike?
Here.
Item number 2 is approval of the minutes from the August 18th, 2015 Public Works meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the August 18, 2015 Public Works meeting.
Any discussion and or corrections to the meetings? Hearing none, minutes are approved. Item number 3 is the 2015 Capital Project Lakeview Drive, Pine Street, East Bank, Lemon Street project. This is just a project update.
Okay, well, if anybody's been up there lately, but they have been working up there on a regular basis. All the water main and the sanitary sewer has been installed. All the sewer laterals are completed. There are a few water services that need to be done, which is mainly from Lakeview Drive to the east. There's like 3 services in that area that need to be completed, and then on Lakeview Drive itself. Today they're up there working on the storm sewer, and that's from 7th up to Lakeview Drive. Stopped up there about 5 tonight, and looks like they'll have that all completed. Tomorrow they're gonna finish up the 3 services on the east side of Pine Street, and there's supposed to be a road crew coming in to start putting down the base course material. Right now they're hoping that the concrete guys would be in here on Thursday to start string lining and potentially start pouring the curb and gutter. That's, I think, a little aggressive, but if it gets delayed, it's not going to be much more than a day or 2. From there, once they get the curb done, the concrete guys are going to stick around, and then we have some, behind the curb, some concrete, some driveway aprons, some sidewalk patches. They're going to stick around and do that right away also. So things have definitely are moving along. If they keep at the rate they're going, it's October is, I think, realistic for having a completion date. The middle of October with everything, asphalt, restoration, all those items.
Did they encounter anything unusual or any surprises when they did the excavation?
No. No, everything's been pretty straightforward. It was pretty intense up there when we had the real deep sewer.
It was deep.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. They had 3 backhoes up there, and I'd never seen that before. And the amount of dirt that they had was pretty significant. Yeah. And they were able to use some of the vacant lots up there, kind of, use those areas, kind of a transfer.
Yeah.
Put it into the lot and kind of move things around. But we're going to be televising everything. I believe that's going to take place tomorrow. That'll be the sanitary sewer and the storm sewer, just to make sure that everything's good on that end before we get too far along. Before we start getting to think about putting the asphalt down. So that's, so far everything's been pretty, pretty smooth. There were, some things with the water main. We had to kind of work those issues out, but I think we're past that point. Just
actually,
with
we got one issue that came up today. One of the samples we took, actually took yesterday, that came up unsafe. So tomorrow we have to reflush that section of main.
Okay.
So we can draw new samples the following day.
But what caused that?
It's really, it can be anything. It could be something that there was, well, one thing we did find when we flushed the rest of the other water main, we found a lot of rocks and dirt came through the water main, which is kind of scares us because number hydrants actually collected some of the rocks for Kevin to actually have. That was one thing you normally, it does happen at times, but it can be something that can cause issues, especially with fire hydrants. We don't know if that was the same issue. We flushed everything out. We thought fairly good and everything else, but
Well,
And
that kind of
sometime it could be
material,
they're
though,
just-
doesn't indicate a break someplace?
Well, no, basically probably what it is when they're first putting the pipes in the ground, they weren't watching real closely and everything else, and they were actually, as they were setting the pipes, they were actually getting rocks and dirt in the
Oh, I
water
see,
main.
okay.
Because they are, they're long sections, they're 21 feet, so it does happen, but you don't like seeing those rocks going through a brand new fire hydrant. It's just not.
Yeah. Especially
So, but, and like I said, in the back T sample, it could be anything, it could basically, this is the first time I ever had a sample come back unsafe from a project. So it's not something that happens a lot with as much chlorine as they use, but apparently there's something that, so we'll just have to do more flushing and.
What was the bacteria?
Huh? What is the actual back T sample?
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was minor thing else, but it was let's put it this way, the sample did not fail by much. So it was a minor issue. It was not chloroform, bacteria, nothing like that, so we just gotta go and do some more flushing and try to get it.
So rocks coming out of a fire hydrant would be a whole new definition of hard water, right?
And we had to shut down twice to clean out that new flushing device we had because the rocks were too big to get through the screen.
So in the flushing that you're doing, will it get the rocks out of there then?
They've
or-
got rocks are out.
Okay.
It's just not real good for the hydrants or the.
And when's the
Flushing
next
program.
bacterial sample taken?
If we flush tomorrow, we have to wait 24 hours before we can take a sample.
Good.
So is it on time, the project?
Its final completion date was October 15th, so I think we're gonna be real close. I mean, we're September 15th right now,
Yeah.
so, I mean, we still have a month. Once they come in and start putting the curb and stuff down, typically the asphalt isn't terribly far behind.
The only other issue we have, which I've asked Travis, well, actually I talked to Wes, who's the on-site person for Total Excavating, to have Travis or Chris from Total give me a price on digging down on one of the existing gate valves that we used in that intersection, because apparently the nut on the top of the valve popped off. So basically we gotta get that nut back on so we can open up that valve, so that's why I don't wanna get too carried away putting gravel on that section until we get that fixed. That'll be something, hopefully they'll give me a price here fairly quick, and I don't see that being a very expensive thing for them, just dig down and get to the valve so we can have somebody pop the nut back on and.
So I guess the only other thing is I do have, their first pay application. And so we've gone through, I guess at this point, we're looking at still withholding 5% of a retainage. And that is on the second page. So we would be holding, roughly $11,500 at this point. That's pretty standard.
What's the purpose of that?
Just, kind of some unknowns, and, if there's anything that does come up, you have something to kind of hold them against to get them
Called
back.
leverage.
Is that enough?
Yeah, it's usually 5% is typically what we always suggest. And that'll, as we get closer to being into the final stages, that'll get, reduced down to, 1 or 2%. Typically, we like to keep something for restoration because that's not going to come in right away. So at this point, with everything as part of the contract, if you add in Pine, Lakeview Drive, what we did on East Bank, and then the Lemon Street project, we've got a project total of a little over $500,000. So first pay app, we're recommending in $219,533.84. And this is something that would be forwarded off to the finance committee.
Right.
And then on to village board at this point. So,
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend to the village board payment of this first pay request in the amount of $219,533.84.
Second.
Since it's spending, I think we have to have a vote, so Start down here.
Yes.
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 All right. So that'll go to the board for October, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep, October finance and then to the board for approval. Good. Glad to see it getting done and on time, and
Yeah,
I've only had a few inquiries about
it's good joint.
how deep it was. That was the only thing I heard.
How deep,
I didn't go up. I didn't go look, but
Got some pretty impressive pictures.
yeah.
how deep was it? Did anybody measure it?
Well, the deepest one was, the Ember was 23 feet deep.
Wow.
And it's such a narrow right-of-way up there. So a double box, trench box, and just a lot of dirt to move. So, it was fairly cobbly in some areas down there.
All right, item number 4, Kevin, I think you're still up with pavement surface evaluation rating map 2015 discussion and possible recommendation.
Okay, so I think we alluded to this here the last meeting. These are every 2 years we have to go through and re-rate the village's street ratings. And Mark has already gone through and performed that task, and he's provided a kind of summary of all the different streets. Obviously, with the new ones that are coming on board, Lakeview Drive, Pine Street, and Lemon Street, those are going to be brought back up to a 10 after they've been reconstructed here. There's been some things with some seal coating, and you can see there's 4 different ones here: Lemon Street, Lund Street, Summer Street North, and 10th Street. And then the other ones are basically just because of the age of and condition of the roadway. They're, mainly just dropping down in one rating. And you can see those are all provided on the bottom of the sheet here too. So from there, we take it and we have a map per se that's all color coded. So, the last one, October 2013, and then what's proposed with this year, the 2015. So, and these are things that'll have to be submitted to the DOT by December 15th of this year. So what we have in front of you here is a proposal from us to basically kind of take it to that next step and get it uploaded into their computer system. And that cost is not to exceed of $750. And that's
$350?
$750.
Just
So
thought I'd ask. Just getting the friend and family rate here.
that rate has not changed for the last, 3-4 times that we've done
We are
it, so.
budgeting season, so. So if I'm looking at this, again, some of the colors are a little, so we have in the poor category, it looks like 1, 2, a loop, 3, 4, maybe 5 sections. Is that correct, or is that fair?
Yep, that looks to be accurate. So basically, yeah, that's in the,
So then those would be the areas we would identify for.
upcoming.
Yep.
Well, looking at the 2, it looks like we've made some progress.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Lakeview Drive for the last couple of years has been the real problem for us. I mean, that road was to the point where snowplows were digging into the road. It was just intolerable.
And right now, that section of St. Croix Street, I still have it listed as a 5. It's still purple, but actually it's at the point where she's gonna drop down to a 4. Because what we're doing is we're losing the edge of the street. Every year I keep doing more and more hot patching along the edge, but that's one that Kevin and I looked at if possible. If we get some LRIP money, we might wanna look at, just do a mill and overlay on that section of St. Croix Street. Basically from 7th Street down to 3rd.
Questions, discussion? Yeah, I look at it and I think, not bad.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Overall, it's not bad.
No,
in the big picture,
Yep,
we're maintaining our roads, which
Yep.
we have to do.
right,
You just can't fall behind, because you never catch up once that starts.
yep.
And it kind of shows the aging. I mean, the color is changing from 2013 to worse in 2015. It's nice.
Yep. All right, so then, I think somebody needs to make a motion here for the 750.
So moved.
Second,
Since it's spending,
Yes.
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 All right, so that'll go to finance for October and then the full board. Item number 5, 5-year capital improvement plan discussion and possible recommendation. I got a feeling there'll be some discussion on this one. Mark, is that you?
Actually, it's kind of joint Kevin and I.
yeah.
All right. So if I'm looking here, this is the budget request. Correct?
For the 2016 project, the storm sewer improvement.
I think I got that one.
Yeah, it was on last month's thing, if you still had it.
So do we have anything?
Yeah, Kevin actually gave us some number.
Yeah, so we went back and re-looked at your 5-year capital improvement plan, and there's a map that's been provided,
gotcha.
kind of a layout.
Yep.
So looking from 2016 to, out to 2020, and so basically what we've been talking about for next year is kind of doing the community-wide storm sewer improvements. And at this point, we're looking at, roughly $250,000 for that work. So that's something we'll have to see if it gets through the budget for this year. We threw in 2017, just some sidewalk replacements. Again, that would be community-wide also. From there, 2018, that's kind of the project that we're looking at for the LRIP. That application is coming out here at the end of the year. So we were thinking that would probably make some sense to apply for that particular street. Like Mark had said, that would just be kind of a pulverize and relay. So if you do get the funding, that's 50-50 split, but typically that amount is around 15 to 20,000. That's usually approved. So, and then from what we're hearing from the DOT, they've kind of got slated the 6th Street project in 2019.
But we have no control over that timing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, they're gonna dictate actually when that takes place, but, that's gonna be a pretty significant project. If you remember, the utilities under that roadway are fairly old, really old.
Well, some of the oldest in the village, isn't that right, Mark?
Yeah. So that's gonna be, something that we're gonna need to definitely keep an eye on, for funding when it gets, into that period. And then 2020, we threw Wisconsin Street in there. That's the one we actually applied for the STP urban funding, just end of July. So should be hearing something back on that, beginning of next year to see if you were awarded any dollars for that part of it.
So what are we doing with that? Explain that to me. 2020, we're asking for money,
Yep.
right? But I'm looking 4th to 6th on the 2015, and it's rated as good. So 5 years from now, I guess
But you have to remember, that's only pavement raising,
Yeah.
but what we're looking at is the infrastructure. We already did the storm sewers from 3rd down the Galahad Road.
gotcha.
And we did it
Right.
from 6th Street to 7th Street, but the section between 4th and 6th have never been replaced.
Yep.
Yeah. So
It's old
that's,
storm sewer, old water,
yep, so that's the driving
or old
force.
sanitary storm in water, sorry.
No way to time these together, huh?
Yeah,
That would be nice.
So then 16 village-wide storm sewer improvements, what was the number on that?
roughly
200.
250,000.
Yeah. 250.
And then 17 sidewalk?
We have not actually, I've not actually set the numbers to Kevin yet, or the number of lengths that we have to have
Yeah.
replaced, so that's something that, I say it's gonna be quite large, because we have a lot of bad sidewalk in the village.
Are these numbers fed then to Gloria in the finance committee? How does that work?
She gets a copy of it, yes.
Yeah.
She will get the information once we have it all.
Okay.
Then first biggest thing is Kevin and I thought is bring it to you guys, have you guys look at the map, see if there's any changes you guys want. We already know about the storm sewer stuff, but then Kevin can go back and actually, once, I could give him the footage of what I had when we went out to check the sidewalks a couple years ago. I can add more to it, but then he can get those numbers, more numbers for, just to have.
Questions, discussion?
So the idea about the 5-year plan is because we're going after the state for some of the dollars.
Yep.
We have to give them several years' notice.
It also
Just-
helps with us,
Well,
with the
it's
village on its own, so
planning.
we know
Helping us have the
roughly
long
what we
view.
got
Yeah.
coming up,
Right.
Yeah,
what kind of money we're looking at.
for budgeting purposes down the road.
Trying to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yep.
Good. All right. That's it for me.
All right, item number 6, snow removal contract discussion and possible recommendations. Mark did ask that I meet with Zappa Brothers. I just couldn't do it, Mark, my apologies.
No, that's fine.
I just could not find the time to get off really and pop on down, so that's,
Basically, I gave all you a little packet. Sorry, trying to get this day earlier, but there's some last minute changes that Gary wanted to make. Basically, what I did is I actually gave you a copy of the last 2 years' contracts, which basically the 2013 and 2014 contract were the same. This is only the cover page, not the full contract. Then what I also gave you, the final last page, is what Gary is requesting for hourly rates for his equipment in for the 2015, 2016 season. As you can see, yep, it's one that says Zappa Brothers on the top of it. Came straight from Gary's office. So,
it's about $5 increase across the board
yeah,
per hour.
yeah, basically that's up for the first truck, the 3-ton, which is the one that goes out the most for him. That one jumped 10.
Yep.
And I think the other 1-tons jumped 10. Everything else jumped $5 increments, basically.
There's a guaranteed $9,000.
Correct. That's it.
And the average we've spent over the past 3 years has been anywhere between probably 20 and 30.
Well, it basically been spending rightfully right around, last couple of years has been between that 12 and 17 mark, something like
Okay.
that.
And that's just with Zappa?
Yep.
Correct. Just with us.
Yep, so, Zap, maybe you want to explain, Mark, where they plow and.
Yeah, basically what it
village-
is when we go out, the normal snowstorm, a normal snow, when a normal snowfall happens, basically what we'll do is we try to send out at least 3 village trucks. And then basically we do everything from Summer Street south in the village. They do from Summer Street north. Plus they also do all the cul-de-sacs throughout the village with the payloaders.
Sure.
And then they also come on, because 4th Street is so wide between Summers and 4th, we have them also hit that with their larger equipment.
Okay.
Plow that.
I'm wondering if the lease piece should be discussed before this one.
The garage lease?
Yeah. That's just a
Can we
thought.
jump one?
'Cause it looks like the lease is being increased.
Okay.
So if we don't, what are you saying? If we don't do the lease, we don't get the
No, I had a thought about when I saw the lease increase coming, I had heard that an increase was coming. And I'm just wondering if we should be asking him about buying that building.
Actually, and once we get on if you guys want to go back to lease and forget about the snow removal for now, that's fine. I think, we did jump over it on the agenda, but that's,
Did I miss?
yeah. It was actually, the lease was item 6. Snow removal was item 7.
Oh,
It's
we have
not
it,
even on the agenda.
we don't even have it on the agenda.
The lease?
Yeah, it's on the new one. It was on the amended one that was sent out.
Oh, this is the amended one.
Oh, in the mail?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
hang on a second.
Yeah, because we actually posted it and everything else. I'm sure.
So I
she
got
would've sent it.
9:15 Public Works,
Yep.
right? This was from Friday, last week.
There should be a number
In the,
6.
I've got one from September 11, yeah.
This is the one we posted with the new agenda item.
oh, okay, so okay, I got you.
All right.
So then we need to go to notes from Mark. Should be in your email.
I'm not seeing it. I've got one from
Daryl, you got
Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, notes from Mark?
notes from Mark.
Oh, that's the
Not
change.
love letters
Right there.
from Mark,
Yep,
just
there's
notes.
That's
from
it right there.
That's the amended agenda,
The
okay.
agenda with
got
some
it.
notes on it.
All right, so
Friday was a real hectic day.
5-year, all right, so we did go,
So,
granted, we kind of went over the garage. So let's back up to the garage lease, and then we'll come back to the snow removal. So,
What I did is you have a little memo I gave to you before the start of the meeting. It says garage lease on it.
yep,
As you can see there, I did not make a recommendation because that is one thing that I need. Basically, I received the numbers from Gary and everything else last Friday. And then along with the change of the contract, and he asked us just to add this or to incorporate the changes into the contract and then, present it to you guys. But the problem is the initial contract did not come from the village. It actually came from Gary's lawyers. So I have to go back to Gary and tell him, no, his lawyers got us, or send out the contract, or print out the contract for us.
so what,
But one thing on the garage lease, as you'll see in the memo, Gary is requesting a $75 a month increase. So that will raise it from $3,250 to $3,250 to $3,325 per month, or $39,900 per year.
so we've discussed this before.
Yep.
About what do we have within the village to build our own, and I think the discussion ended with nothing, right? And then the discussion went to, okay, should we be talking with Gary about purchasing this, right? And then I think the discussions after that was straight up lease. So Mark, did you,
Basically, what the village administrator and I found in the current lease is that as part of the lease, it's actually on page 4, section 6, under renewal terms. It's actually on page 5. It states that along with the contract, that basically the landlord is supposed to be giving us a cost of what it would, with each contract, we should be getting a purchase price. So that at the end of the contract, we know what that the village would have to pay to purchase that set.
how long we been leasing this property?
2005.
So we got 10 years.
Yep.
And it's been on average 40 grand a year.
Well, it actually changed in this last one when we added the second garage. So there for a while we did, But yeah, this is the.
So it's pretty, it would be a fair assessment to say we've paid to this point anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000 over the course of 10 years. Is that a fair assessment?
As far as you went,
All right, I
not
suspect
make-
you've
let's-
got more.
well, let's not make an apples and oranges
No,
comparison.
I'm just trying to figure out what we spent over the course of, I wasn't here 10 years ago.
Right,
right? If there's an option in the contract to purchase, right, is that retroactive? And does it include improvements or does it not include? So I'm looking at it,
But keep in mind, during the period of time that we have leased that building, we have not had any capital funds tied up. So we have not lost the opportunity of investing the funds or using them for alternative purposes. I
Fair
mean,
enough.
this is just not a yes or a no question.
Yep. No, it's a
There are
fair
a lot of
question,
calculations
right.
that need to go into this.
yep,
And I am not an advocate of buying the building. I would be very interested in seeing some data comparisons to assist in that. I'm just saying intuitively, I'm not an advocate of buying the building and tying up capital funds in a non-earning asset.
What do you mean by non-earning?
It doesn't earn us anything. If we've got incremental funds and they're available, we're either using them for a budgetary purpose or we're investing them and receiving a revenue stream.
So
If we
then-
buy the building, it doesn't earn us anything.
the only,
Well, the building doesn't go down in price year by year, doesn't it?
I'm not talking about the value of the building. I'm talking about the opportunity cost of the funds.
Okay.
right. So then the only earning aspect that we would be budgeting for would be reduction of debt.
If we're serious about considering buying the building, and I'm not opposed to doing that, considering buying the building, then I would want all of us to make it on a full picture basis, to look at, right now, it is privately owned, it is a tax-paying property in the village.
Yep.
We have no funds tied up in it. I mean, let's look at everything.
Yep.
And it may prove that we ought to buy it. I would be doubtful of that, but it may. And if it did, I would say, okay, it proves that on the basis of a long-term need that the village has for a public works garage,
Right.
we either have to lease one or we have to own one, but
Yep.
we need the public works garage.
Yep.
I may be convinced. I'm only saying intuitively, I generally, from a public standpoint, I'm going to be resistive of putting those dollars in a facility that we can lease on an equitable basis.
Did we get a buyout price after the first lease?
No, we did not. So that's what we're saying is, that's, before we sign this new lease, and they also, both the village administrator and myself feel that in the next lease, there should be some kind of number saying, okay, if the village decides to
No,
buy
it's,
it.
it's in there, right? It's part of the contract. It should be
But
there.
just the number's never been put in there.
The number's never been put in.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Seems like it's been an oversight
Yeah,
for
yeah.
many years. When's the contract in?
Actually, this contract expires the end of this
Yeah.
month.
Is there a provision in there for us to be month to month until we deal with it?
Yes, and I believe that will not be a problem.
Yeah. So, Daryl, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Actually, your memo says it expires the end of next month.
Does it?
Does that need to be corrected?
October 31st, yes, that's right, end of next month. But the thing is, we were thinking about if we got it on this month's agenda, but I'm sure if I talk to Gary, there won't be no problem if it goes on to next month's Public Works again, and then board meeting in November, you know, see why.
So, Daryl, if you were to do this
I
assessment.
don't think he'll kick us out in a day, you know, or two.
No, I don't. If you were to do this assessment, right? Pros, cons, benefits of owning versus tying up resources. How long do you think that'd take you? That would be, I mean, then we've got maintenance, and it comes off, to all your points, comes off the tax roll.
Well, I wouldn't do it, but Gloria can do it. I mean, actually, there's software that can do it. I mean, it's not that,
There is.
it's not that complicated to run the performance. And then we'd be making a decision on the basis of
Yeah.
hard data as opposed to, I think we ought to buy it, I think we should not buy it.
Yeah, no, I'm completely in agreement with you. I guess what I'm asking is, would you be willing to help Gloria?
Well, I'll talk to Gloria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to Gloria. It's-
You have the
it's-
experience.
It's not that
right?
difficult to,
It's your background.
yeah.
So it would make
Put the
sense.
numbers together.
So I think what I would like to do is, one, have Gloria work and kind of get the numbers to see what that would be, and then we could go back to Zappa and, you know, obviously, I think, well, I won't say what I think, but I think to Daryl's point, let's get the facts. Let's see what the true cost is, what we're tying up in resources for it. What, I don't know if this is retroactive. I don't, do we need to have council look at the contract and give us some feedback on?
I didn't,
Not at this point, but I
No.
think we, in order to reach a valued decision when we compare it, we're going to need to know what the available offered price for the
Yeah.
building is.
Does the contract say when they're gonna deliver that number to, I'm assuming Gloria?
no, because right now, like I said, it's just been something that's been messed over. and
It's
now
just not-
Started looking through it.
It's like any
Yeah, we've
contract.
renewed
You
this
read
lease
through
for a
it,
couple times,
Yeah.
and the number's never been there.
Then we just never
You
been
just
put
don't
in.
look at it.
I mean, the lease doesn't say that they
No.
have to deliver it by such and such a date before we renew. That's what I'm asking. And Gloria did Gloria sign?
So
that?
Mark, can you do me a favor? Can you have Gloria scan that in and send it to the committee members?
Sure.
So we at least have a,
Actually, I thought it was.
Electronic copy
no,
of-
Maybe it wasn't. No, I'm thinking something else. All right.
right?
Sure, yeah.
So then, I guess my recommendation is, the contract's not out until end of October, so we
Yeah,
got
yeah,
some
we've
time.
got some time. Let's,
Let's look
Move
at
it
it
to
from
next
Daryl's
month's agenda.
perspective, if you're willing to work with
I'll-
Gloria,
I'll
because I know
talk to
she's
Glo-
gonna have questions,
I'll talk to Gloria, and we'll have some data that we can look at.
and then we can make a decision.
Okay,
Yep.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Agreeable?
yeah.
Okay. All right, now, snow removal. So I think we left off on Mark just kind of giving us a quick description of, or did we already go over this, what Zappa Brothers does and what the village does?
Right, I got it. At least I understand it now.
Okay,
I didn't
good.
before, thank you.
Prices in general have gone up $5 to $10, right? From my perspective, I've had no real issues with snow removal in the village, right? I've heard a few grumblings here and there, but, you know,
You live in a hole.
but I think overall, it's been working out pretty good. Now, this does play into, as we get down to, I guess, item 10, Public Works Budget. There's a rather large item that's gonna come up, and some of the thoughts. So Mark and I did meet with the city of Hudson to discuss about snow removal. They were basically said, nope, not gonna happen. Just don't have the time, don't have the equipment, don't have the personnel. So a lot of good discussion, I thought, anyways, back and forth with the city, which will come into play at a budget request from Public Works, which may or may not make your eyes pop out of your head, but it is what it is. So the thought is, Daryl's like, his eyes are already going. The thought is, right, so we're spending maybe approximately $20,000 per year, right? You've got a 10-year ROI on it, just as a overall arching discussion. So right now in front of us is snow removal contract approval. Mark, do you have anything you need to add or?
No, well, basically this as a follow-up, what we were just talking plowing, but also, Zappa's personnel does the, salting of the streets on nights and weekends and everything else. Like I said, they basically cover all the after-hours salting operations. Their personnel does that, so gives us time off, so, and it's been working out very good, so.
The rates have been the same since 2013, and
Correct.
he's asking for, all right.
Yes.
The last couple of years, I've received no complaints on the quality of the work. The only complaint that I've received at all is, why wasn't my street done first? Everybody in the village thinks that their street ought to be the first one that's done.
Me too.
I know a lot of the people that live in cul-de-sacs are extremely happy now to see payloaders coming in. and
Yeah,
cleaning out
I-
the cul-de-sacs. instead of-
I live in a cul-de-sac, and I would fully agree with that assessment. It just makes it so much easier. So do we have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of, of 1-year snow ice removal contract with Zappa Brothers, Inc. at the rates indicated.
I'll second that.
All right, since it is a spending item, we need a vote on it, so we'll start.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. So they'll go to finance and then the full board. All right, item number 8. Purchase of a pre-salt system from the city of Hudson.
That right now is tabled because I have not had, basically, I have not had a chance to get with Hudson
Okay.
actually work on that, so we're gonna have to table
Yep.
that this time.
Could you explain that one to me, though?
Basically, they got a, when we were having our meeting with, Ted and I were having our meeting with, the Public Works Chair and the Public Works Director and his lead person, they were telling us that they have a, 50-gallon, salt suppression, well, basically it's a pre-salt system that actually fits in the back end of a 1-ton truck like our 550 we
Really?
have up the garage. And they say it works very well, but for them, it's just too small of a system for them. And they would actually allow us to fill it with their chemical feed up at Hudson Garage. And it's used mainly to pre-salt intersections and hills before a snowstorm.
So it's likely to cut down on the costs of salt purchase.
Yeah, that's
That's the main,
That's what I was-
so
That's what it's-
the back end payoff is, one, it's probably a lot more safer than what we're doing now. And then 2, the purchase of salt for those intersections is gonna go way down.
It's a liquefied system.
So is it gonna help with, the icing that typically comes with the?
Yeah, because but this has a pre-wet system and everything else.
Right.
It basically keeps the intersections, fairly clear.
I like it.
I do not have all the data on it this time. That's why. I
Any
tabled it.
numbers at all from them? I mean,
They have.
they were throwing around numbers and I kept going, well, geez, come on.
Yeah, but the last talk I had to them, that they were still trying to get it out of storage and everything else, and they wanted to clean it up and make sure everything was operating before, they wanted to inspect it, and I know they've been just as busy as we have, so it's just time of the year. It's,
So can we have that for next month's
I'll
meeting?
work on it for next
Yeah,
month's
as a
meeting.
future agenda item. Because I thought it was a really good collaboration between the two municipalities and, they get something they need to get rid of and I think they're gonna do it for a reasonable price and it's gonna help us out.
Collaboration, I like that. Tell them we'll be interested in their system if they'll plow our streets.
Not gonna happen. All right. Winter parking ordinance discussion only. So there is a memo. I did see this one.
Basically, again, this was something, well, I actually brought this to the committee back a few years ago, especially when we had a very bad season where we were having problems with streets narrowing up on us because of too much snow and cars always parking in the way. Then during our discussion with the city of Hudson, they told us that, basically that was the biggest thing that's saved them a lot of money since they got all the cars off the streets, because right now we go and plow and then we're going back after the cars move and replowing the streets again, curb
Yep.
to curb, and we're wasting a lot of time and man hours that we could actually, if the cars were out of our way. Sure, there's some streets that, we'd have to make exceptions on, just like the city of Hudson does, just because they don't have off-street parking, but for the majority of streets, there's no reason why we can't have the cars off the streets so we can actually plow them all in one pass and be done with it.
So discussion on this, apparently this has come up in the past and somehow hit some resistance. And I don't understand why. If it's a very simple cost-saving solution, right, that most municipalities have, What's been the, probably, yeah, obviously it's not come up in my tenure. What's been the resistance to this?
This is an item, and I am just trying to remember some of the discussion the last time we talked about this. This is one of those items that creates a lot of emotion, because, and I'll say up front, I'm reluctantly in favor of something like this. My reluctance is only because I know some of the consequences, and the consequences are that you have to enforce it. If you have an ordinance, you have to enforce it, which means that there are going to be cars that will be parked, and the cars will get tickets because they need to be moved. And then you're going to get citizens complaining and yelling about the parking ticket that they got on their car.
Yep.
So it creates a whole different dynamic. In the big picture, however, it does save money for the municipality that is able to efficiently remove the snow from their streets, as opposed to going back and doing them again or going
Yep.
around them. And so that's why I say I'm reluctantly in favor of
Yep.
it. I'm just saying that those are the kinds of things, when we discuss this at the board, will come up.
Okay.
And it is
Fair enough.
inevitable that you're gonna have
Yep.
citizens that are gonna yell and scream about the parking ticket they
Yeah,
got.
well, they yell and scream now. We have all sorts of ordinances that are currently enforced, right? We had one just a year ago down at Fury Landing. So, I mean,
Well, and look, at-
my personal opinion is, if it's saving the village money, right, then the residents of the village should be in favor of it. It's not that difficult to move a car from one spot to another when it snows.
looking at
See, in the big
Hudson,
picture, you shouldn't have to force people to do logical things.
Right, well,
If it's snowing, they should get their car off the street.
Yep.
I mean, that's what they ought to do, but
yep,
they don't.
yep,
the Hudson ordinance has first violation warning, second violation $25, car is not towed, third violation is $50 plus tow fee, and the car is towed. So, you
yeah,
know,
well, I mean,
it's like you're giving them a chance to
right.
get accustomed to it at least.
Right, and Daryl, you're right. There's going to be all sorts of discussion about, well, we don't have the personnel to enforce it, and
Yeah,
who's going to call to have them come tow it, and you know,
And
but
It would come back to the cops?
And basically, you know, like my memo has on it, there's all kinds of different ordinances, what all these different municipalities have, so basically we would have to come up with something that works for the village, but, you know,
it's really not that difficult,
no,
right?
no, biggest thing is getting the signs
And if
in.
it's saving money,
We'd have to-
man hours,
we
because
should-
we're paying, right? We just saw rates are going up $5 to $10 an hour.
We should see what the cost analysis is, though.
And a lot of it is education.
Yep.
Village residents need to understand, if we do this, and I think we should, why we're doing it.
Right.
That it does cost, it is cost effective. It is efficient. They need to,
Yep,
they need to be educated as to the sense of the ordinance.
completely agree. Do we have franking rights where we don't have to pay for postage as a village? No. If it's something that goes out to,
Oh, I mean, it.
'cause here's what I'm thinking,
You can put a
right?
story in the paper and you post it on the web,
Right,
on our
and/or-
website.
You do a little one pager that goes out and says, here's why we're doing this. Now everybody's got it in their mailbox, and there's no excuse. How much is that possibly gonna cost?
I
Right?
just think we need a total cost. What's the signs gonna cost? What's the increase in labor to the police? And, you know, we should get a total cost. And then it'd be nice to see what Hudson said it saved them money. Do they have the numbers? It would be nice to see it, because if that's a substantial number, which I'm guessing it probably is, it should be a no-brainer. We need that money.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's either that or we start putting up radio towers across North Hudson. Right? I mean, there's all sorts of ways to save money and make money. This seems pretty simple. So, Mark, can you start the discussions? I don't even know where this begins, so we need to bring it up for, Does it need to go to
Well,
public
wh-
safety, or what's?
I think if we're in favor of it, we recommend it to the full board.
For discussion.
Mhm.
All right. So I think that's a recommendation.
And I'll do that. I move we recommend to the board the affirmative consideration of a parking ordinance,
Okay,
Winter parking ordinance.
winter parking
Yep.
ordinance.
second. All right, so they'll go full board for discussion in October. Then Mark, if you could just maybe discuss with Gloria what, have her thoughts on it. What an ordinance might start looking like, and to Brian's point, you know, what's the true cost to it, I guess.
Well, somebody's gonna ask us, well, what are you saving?
$300,000. Is that a good number?
I think,
We all
I think
agree
Daryl's
with
right.
that.
It's gonna create some heat at a
Well,
board meeting.
yeah, we're all. Yeah, well, I know what the gentleman down here in the corner is gonna say. All right, so that, you know, my refute to that would be then, okay, you know, we've got some very silly ordinances about gun laws in the village of North Hudson. Maybe we should have another visit of those. Really open it up. I think I'm in town too, so this will be a good one. All right, Public Works, oh, hold on, Mark, I gotta go back. I'm on the non-revised notes for Mark. Okay, we are on the Public Works budget discussion, possible recommendations. So, A is the 2016 capital project storm sewer improvement repair, same as last month.
$250,000.
I don't know if there's any more discussion about that, really. Right? Do we need any further?
As long as this committee wants it as part of the 2016 budget for capital projects, that's all we need.
That was, what was that number again?
Right now, $250,000, according to our engineer.
Come up with.
So, (2016) stormwater improvements village-wide, $250K, right?
Yep.
And Mark, you're saying this needs to be made part of the budget, or at least recommended for a 2016 budget, which doesn't necessarily mean it makes it through the finance
No,
committee.
no.
Yeah.
But
So,
it just,
I have no problem with making the recommendation that it becomes part of the Public Works 2016 budget. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right, so, it's not necessarily spending, we don't need a roll call on it. It'll come up in finance, where I'm sure it will be discussed.
That's right.
All right. Item B,
this is something that our,
I did chuckle a little bit when I read that, Mark, I gotta say,
what?
but I love it. No, I asked you to do it, I
Yep.
appreciate it. Oh, that's in here, so that should be on your, in your email.
I got some paper copies too.
Budget request, correct?
Correct.
All right. Go, Mark, you're on.
Basically, meeting with the city of Hudson and everything else, they came out with some recommendations for us that they think that, basically, they feel that the village in the long run would be better to go out and purchase its own plow truck with all necessary snow removal equipment on it. And
Easy for
also-
them to say.
Huh?
Easy for them to say.
Yeah. Then also go out and purchase a wheel loader with all the necessary snow removal equipment on it. And you will see by the numbers,
Oh, there's two things on here.
yes.
You got
So
it.
here, sometimes
That's
it's
why
easier-
you're chuckling.
sometimes it's easier to read paper. I was,
One's called a lamb.
I don't know if anybody else wants a paper copy.
You're a brave soul, dude.
Now, let's think about it, right? So we got in the meeting, they're saying, listen, you know, Robert's down here
Which Roberts is a little smaller than us and has less cul-de-sacs.
went this route. It worked out well for him. So discussion was, okay, if we go with the, so we've got, so we're clear 400,000, correct?
Right.
Right.
Number they gave us.
Yep.
That's budget number.
Yep, yep. So if you go with this, you know, both and or one or the other, the thought was then if you're removing the snow removal contract, right? And these numbers are a little bit higher than I thought they were going to be honest with you. But if you go with the removal of the snow contract at approximately $20,000, then you got a 10-year payback on it, right?
Well, the largest thing is like these trucks, as long as they're trucks and loaders and everything else, they're well maintained. Like they said, they're getting, 25 to 30 years life out of theirs. Out of their equipment, so.
So after 10 years, then that return on investment is starting to be realized. It's a thought. We're throwing it out.
I'm
Food
not
for
opposed to
thought.
throwing it out, I just
You
don't,
know,
don't see it going anywhere.
well, I don't.
Keep in mind, when you've got a snow removal contract and you're utilizing someone else's equipment, it comes with operators.
Yep,
We own the
we
equipment.
discussed that, yep,
We provide
yep.
the employees and
And the maintenance.
the maintenance,
Yep.
compensate the employees, pay workers' comp, but, I mean, again, that's big picture.
Nope,
And that's the biggest thing with the village, like I said, Roberts, they're using Roberts, and even their guy said you would probably have to have additional public works personnel in North Hudson with the size of us are, but it might mean just bringing in, having people just as snow removal contractors, employees, just to come in and operate equipment at times, But you're right, Darryl, it's all adds up. It's,
So it's a lot more.
that's the base cost.
Yeah.
base cost.
That's the base cost, right?
Plus, the biggest thing with us is when you start getting this size of equipment and everything else, with the amount of equipment we already have, sure, we'll be getting rid of the international, but we still need the pickups and trucks we got. Stuff like that. Basically, we're gonna really run out of space at the current public works garage.
And the international, correct me if I'm
International,
wrong, wouldn't even pass DOT right now.
Why not?
So basically, she's in that bad a shape. It's a 97, everything else. We have basically getting enough work on there done else. She'll pass DOT to work in the village and everything else. Well, she'll work for the village, but if you put that thing out on a highway or the interstate, it's not classified as DOT.
It's only got 44,000 on it?
It was just, the truck really wasn't designed to be used as a,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Village purchased it at a
it's
good
gonna have
price.
to be addressed at some point, right? This was one possible solution that I thought we at least need to have it out there. It's on the books, it's on the record. If we need to come back to and discuss it, then we've done at least the due diligence on it.
Well, it certainly gets your attention.
It does, doesn't it?
Good.
I'm nothing if not bold, Darryl.
You are bold.
So, I'm assuming we're not probably as a committee gonna recommend this going to finance for discussion.
I would not
I would not.
All right,
vote that way.
all right, so,
They would just
Fair
laugh.
enough.
They'd laugh at us.
well, at least we're thinking differently about things,
I
right?
applaud that.
So, thank you, Mark,
Thanks.
for putting that together. I do appreciate it. And even though it may seem like it was for not now,
I'll just put it away in a file somewhere.
yep, exactly.
Well,
got a lot of
I would
files.
second that.
As you can see.
appreciate it too. I mean, yes, we
It gives you some scale to what you're dealing with,
See,
need,
I got a lot of files.
right?
This is only a small
we need
file.
to, we need to wrestle with things even though they're scary.
Yeah. Yep. And it puts in perspective the,
Yes.
the snow
Yes.
removal
Yes.
contract. It's
Yes.
part of the reason I did it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun.
You think?
Item number 11, engineers report.
I don't have anything.
You pretty much covered the waterfront.
Yeah, nothing additional for this month.
Okay.
Good report.
Director's report.
Basically, alls I have is the, that leaking valve up at Michelson and 8th was replaced, yesterday. Basically what it was, the top of the valve was leaking, everything else, there was no place, there was, you know.
What's
What-
the cost?
Yeah, it was, I haven't got the final numbers on what it's gonna cost to do it, but it's gonna probably be on the higher end of that we did last month, so. But it's, basically the valve was shot, it had to be replaced.
What about the sinkhole over on, what street was that?
A Street,
Yeah.
just up from Monroe, that was a water main break.
Has that been fixed?
All fixed, just waiting for blacktop.
Okay.
They figured there's no sense blacktop in that part until we got the valve fixed. They can bag all blacktop together along with the manhole at 6th and Summers.
Okay. So then future agenda items, we had the salt, liquid salt, what did you call it?
The pre-salt system?
Yeah, yep. Anything else?
The building.
Garage.
Yeah,
is-
the building, right, yep. That you're gonna help.
We should make sure that we have, you know, for voting on the approval of the minutes, that we get the, these ones in that we're approving versus what we had.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing else?
Okay.
Item 14, adjournment. We are adjourned.